السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه وبعد. Can anyone remind me what we spoke about yesterday for those who were in the masjid? What did we speak about yesterday when we were in the masjid? Before we carry on, who understands English? I don't. Raise your hand up. If you understand English, you could raise your hand up. I don't understand English. MashaAllah. Majority of you are English speakers. So what did we speak about yesterday? Yes. Salah. Barakallahu feekum. He wasn't sleeping yesterday, so that's a blessing in its own. Barakallahu feekum. Yesterday we spoke about what's the best education you could leave behind to whom? Your children. And we said the first thing that you need to teach your children is what? Salah. Regardless of the certificates that you provide your children with by going to school, to the best university, you give them the certificates of the workplace that they work in, it does not matter regardless. Why so? Because the last thing that will remain with them is what? Their connection with whom? Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Simply put. We mentioned a verse in Surah Maryam. I want you to remember this surah. What surah is it? What surah is it? Surah Maryam. Let's say it again. What surah would it be? Barakallahu feekum. In Surah Maryam, Allah says that those are the ones whom we blessed from the prophets and their progenies of Adam alayhi salam, and we said Nuh alayhi salam, and those who followed Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim and Israel being Yaqub alayhi salam. And then there are those of whom that Allah has guided and chosen, which is you and I. This is a favor from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Allah has blessed you and I to be in this position. So it's not that we made the choice to be in this position. Everything happens only in the hands of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. وَعِنْدَنَا لِلْعَبْدِ كَسْبٌ يُخْلَقُ ثُمَّ شَهِيدُ الْحَرْبِ حَيٌّ يُرْزَقُ. What does that mean? What we do in our lives is always in the hands of Allah. It's not that we are the ones that dictate our movements, our thoughts and everything. Understood? Hence we are believers. But then we mentioned a verse after that which speaks about what? The predecessors of these righteous people, of the prophets, and also the righteous men that existed, the followers of the prophets, isn't it? When these predecessors take over the position or they succeed the position of whom? Of their fathers and their parents, what happens? They tend to replace the position of their ancestors with that which is the opposite. And the opposite of righteousness is what? Going astray. And we said when these progenies come, the first thing they do is what? خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةِ. They neglect salah. They let go of salah. Why would Allah mention salah rather than any other deed? Because it's the first thing that a Muslim tends to forget. Easily forgotten is salah. Not even fasting, not even going to Hajj and all of that. Those things only come once what? Once a year. And Hajj is only once in a lifetime. But when it comes to salah, the moment your heart starts turning towards that which is wrong and your heart starts going astray, the first thing you start feeling is the what? The burden of salah. So when you start feeling the burden of salah, you start abandoning it. Hence the scholars of tafsir, what have they said? There's two interpretations of this verse. When Allah spoke about them forgoing salah, it's either one of the two. They don't pray on time, or they skip salah, that's one, or they don't pray at all. Hence the scholars say, if you do not pray at all, then you have become a what? An unbeliever, a kafir. Between us and those who are not believing in the same message, what is it? The difference between us is salah, nothing else. Because you have blood running in your system. You have the same color as them. You might be speaking the same language as them. It's the same lingo. But what sets you different from them is the salah. And the salah that you pray is what gives you the nur you have on your face. Bear that in mind. But Allah says that the implications of forgoing salah is one. And it is the major implication or major issue, major problem that majority of us tend to turn a blind eye towards to. What is it? وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. And Allah used the wow, bear this in mind. وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. He did not say ثُمَّ اتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. When you use thumma, learn this a little bit of Arabic because it's part of your deen. تعلموا العربية فإنها من دينكم. Umar ibn al-Khattab says what? Learn Arabic because indeed it's from your religion. Your entire religion is Arabic. If you do not study Arabic, it's not that easy to understand what the books provide you. And one thing I should mention to you, ikhwah, my dear beloved brothers, bear this in mind. Knowledge of Islam is borderless. But the school knowledge that you provide your children has a lot of borders. You have to pay fees. They have to attend. They have to pass a test. And then they receive their what? The certificate. Then you take them to another level. You have to pay even more fees. And also take care of their what? Their well-being. Until they get their certificate again. But come to Islamic knowledge. Knowledge that draws you close to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, connects you to the divine, has no borders. As you're sitting over here, is there anything that was required from you besides you being patient? Isn't it? Being patient and paying attention. That's it. But if you have a deeper desire, the greatest of what you need is to do what? Befriend a teacher. Befriend a scholar. Live close to this person. The teacher that is sincere, the one that can provide you the knowledge. And I promise you, a sincere Muslim teacher, a sincere scholar of Islam would provide you their whole lives, the entire lives. These teachers would do that for you so that you can study this deen. This deen is borderless. Understand that. As long as there are no borders in this deen, it's accessible to you regardless of what way it might be. You might be learning as you're walking. Understood? So Allah says wow rather than thumma, because wow is immediate. It's the immediate effect. If Allah was to use thumma, it means there's a delay. But Allah is not providing you a delay. Allah is providing you the immediate effects of doing what? Neglecting salah. He says, وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. All of these people that have neglected salah, the first thing that they do is they follow their desires. And let me tell you one thing. When we say desires, majority of the times, we think about committing zina, falling into interest, or maybe saying things which are wrong. Yes, they are values which Islam has neglected and literally have frowned upon. Yes, it's simple as that. Islam has frowned upon this. But there's something which is far more greater in our modern age, which we have turned a blind eye towards too as well. This is what it is. Many of our youth, as they grow up, yes, they might be praying, they might be coming to the masjid, but the installation of loving Allah in their hearts has not succeeded yet. It's unsuccessful. It has not been instilled in their hearts properly. Because let's go back to salah itself and understood why Allah specifically uses salah. Come to the fiqh term of salah. One of the main subjects that each Muslim requires. It doesn't matter regardless of who you are. The moment you know that you believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, before knowing your Islam through Quran, before studying hadith, the first of what you need is fiqh. And I advise you to memorize this. The first subject you need to understand and study is what subject? Fiqh. Repeat with me. What's the first subject you need? Fiqh. You might be wondering why. How do you learn to pray? Fiqh. How do you learn to fast? Fiqh. How many times do you have questions when Ramadan comes by? Ustad, Sheikh, I have a question. I was showering and then some drops of water went through my mouth and it passed through my throat. Do I have my fasting or not? That's a fiqhi question. Ustad, I was in salah, but then I made mistake. What do I do? Is my entire salah invalidated? Or is my salah, it's okay, it's valid, but I have to repeat something? That's a fiqhi question. Or for example, I believe in this and this. Is this the correct belief? That's a fiqh question. Understood? Your entire life revolves around fiqh, whether you like it or not. That's how Muslims are. So you need to study fiqh. So when you go back to salah, the first thing you learn is this. Salah has the meaning of dua, supplication. When you supplicate towards Allah or to Allah, do you supplicate to Allah while you know what you're asking? Or do you just do dua to Allah and you don't even know what you're saying? What is it? Number one is you do dua to Allah and you know what you're saying. And number two is you do dua to Allah but you don't know what you're saying. Which one is it? One or two? Number one, barakallahu feekum. Hence the scholars say that salah means qurbatun fi'liyatun dhatu ihramin wa salamin aw sujudin faqat. What does that mean? Salah is a deed that you draw close to Allah with, but it's an actionable deed, a deed which requires physical action in this case. And then they say that which has within it ihram, when you say Allahu Akbar, and I'll mention to you why. Salam, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Or perhaps that salah in itself adds within it sujood. You go on prostration. Why does it say or rather than saying and sujood? That's the question, isn't it? Is there a salah which doesn't have a sujood? Is there a salah which doesn't have a sujood? Yes, there is. The salah that people pray for you when you have passed away. When people pray for you, once you have passed away, that salah has a sujood, doesn't have a sujood. Did you know that? It's only takbir Allahu Akbar 4 times, some dua within it, وَنِيَّةٌ سَلَامُ سِرٍّ تَبِعَ, and then you do salam, it's over. But there is no sujood. But still it's regarded as salah. But this is what you notice. When you're in salah and you do what? You are close to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. How do you attain that closeness? How do you use the word qurba as Allah uses it in the Quran, qurba, by showing that when you are drawing close to Allah, you have to understand how you are drawing close to Allah. But then after that, if you look at salah, it means dua. You are supplicating to Allah. But the question is, do our children know the meaning of the supplication they're doing in salah? The first answer is no. And that's a hard reality. It's a very harsh one. You and I need to agree on that. I am telling you this sarahatan, something that you cannot neglect. What I can do for you, maybe tomorrow inshallah ta'ala we shall be together. We'll carry on with this series by explaining to you in regards to how do you know that in salah you supplicate to Allah. There are 3 ways that your body, 3 parts of your body is supplicating to Allah. What are they? What are those 3? I'll mention to you those tomorrow. That's number 1. Number 2, how is salah dua? Is supplication and dua towards Allah. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And the importance of learning about salah in itself, so that the meaning of what we have in this surah, what surah is it again? What did we mention? What surah? Surah what? Maryam, barakallahu feekum. Mary, the mother of whom? Isa. Simply as that, the mother of Jesus. Mtoto wa Yesu, sio? That's how it works. Simply as it is. Mamake Yesu. Mamake Yesu, yes. Ndivyo wanavyosema. Lakini nitakwambia hivi. Let me tell you this. If you look at the surah, I want you to remember the verse. Allah says, they neglect salah and as an immediate effect, they follow their own desires. If you look at the modern age, how do following desires tie together with neglecting salah? Whereas people still pray, people still fast, they go to Hajj. What's the causality that causes these things to go hand in hand? Insha'Allah ta'ala. So do prepare yourselves. I want you to remember the terminologies we mentioned. What does salah mean? What does salah contain within it? And we mentioned is what? Ihram, salam, or sujood. Is there a salah which doesn't have a sujood? Yes, there is. And we mentioned what surah is it? Isn't it? What are the 2 things that go hand in hand? The neglecting of salah, and what? The negligence of salah and following of desires. On top of that, and we mentioned the 3 things, and the 3 things that we have to mention related to what? Salah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum.